Hi everyone, I'm Farhana Saleh from the Audience Department of the ACM. We hope you're having a great evening so far and staying safe. We're going live soon with the panel talk with Zach Collaboratives and Fei Lim that is at 7:30 p.m., which is in about 5 minutes. In the meantime, do interact with us by leaving your comments or questions in the Facebook or YouTube comment section. If you've just joined us, there will be music playing in the background till we are ready to begin. We'll see you again shortly. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the panel talk with Zach Collaboratives and Fei Lim, a talk that is part of the Light Tonight at ECM Design in Progress. I'm Farhana Saleh from the Audience Department of the ECM, and I will be your host for today. With me, I have my fellow colleagues Haryanti Jamal and Tara Marie Donoghue, who are managing everything behind the scenes to make sure our program runs smoothly this evening. The theme for this Light Tonight edition at ACM this year is Design in Progress, and it is taking place in a hybrid format with on-site artwork and programs and a digital extension on our Facebook. The festival was launched last Friday, 22nd January, and you have until this weekend to view the artwork Ways of Seeing on ACM Green or visit the special exhibition Faith, Beauty, Love, Hope, Our Stories, Your ACM at a discounted price of only $6 on 29 and 30th January from 7 to 9 p.m. We encourage our audience to leave us comments or questions in the Facebook or YouTube comment section. And at the end of the talk, we will select a few and share them on screen as we address them. Tonight, we are delighted to have the creative team behind Ways of Seeing. Randy Chan, Principal of Zarch Collaboratives, Architect Fiona Tan, Digital Artist Finbar Fallon, and Artist Fei Lim. To begin the talk, I would like to invite our guests to please give a short introduction about themselves, what they do, and their works. Let's start with Randy.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the intro. I am Randy Chan, the principal of Zarch Collaborative. We are a Singapore-based architecture firm. And with me today, of course, with my collaborator, Fei Lim, and my team, Finbar and Fiona. The firm basically, as what it is that we work on a very collaborative approach in terms of how we look at things. So basically, in the gist of what this firm does is that we do more than architecture. We are a firm that, in terms of as an outreach, it is pretty diversified in terms of the work that we do. From apart from architecture itself, we do a lot of art installation, curatorial, storytelling. These are some of the sampling of the work. And today we are very happy to share a bit more on this particular work itself.
Thanks, Randy. Perhaps Faye want to go next?
Hi, thank you, Farhana. Thanks everyone for being here today. So I'm Fei Lim. I'm a dance artist and a director of Daring Do Dance. I make dance works and body-based programs. For example, programs regarding sexuality education as well. So we have a roly-poly family division that primarily serves young children and the families. So my work in general with choreography and direction, I put the works on stage and at some off-stage locations as well, for example, at certain installations and such. Otherwise, I love making dance on camera as well. So for films and for exhibitions and things. So it's been a real pleasure to be able to do this with Zarch. Yeah.
Thank you, Faye. I love how your work really touches people's lives, not just via just visually, but also emotionally. You mentioned that you worked with young kids. So I think we really want to find out a bit more about you later throughout this talk. As you would have seen on screen, our fellow viewers, we do have two other speakers with us. We have Fiona Tan as well as Finbar Fallon. They are part of Zarch Collaboratives, as Randy mentioned earlier. So thanks everyone for the short and sweet introduction. We have a talented group of creative collaborators with us tonight. So we'll start this ball rolling. Perhaps we can start off with the first question that might be on everyone's minds. How did this collaboration between Zarch Collaboratives and Fei Lim come about?
Well, I take this. Actually, it came as an open call about 3 months ago, and how as in most of the commission, we got to know. I mean, in terms of Fei through a Zarch exhibition space, which Fiona have did an Instant Citizen. That's the title of the exhibition. So everything seems to roll out pretty fast. There is a, a very quick element of understanding, and the next thing you know, we are in a gear of the design discussion. So it was everything's connected in some way or another way back before even this commission. Yeah.
Mm. Fiona, do you want to share a little bit more about how you and Faye got together as well?
Actually, exactly what Randy said about actually the second floor of Zaj was kept deliberately open by Randy, of course, so that it can invite conversations about art, the built environment to happen in the space. So, I mean, beyond my exhibition, Finn also did something which you can see on the left side of the screen, also in the same space. And I think it's a great privilege to have a space that is deliberately kept open for creative conversations. We hope to have more of these events again.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I think it is interesting how came to be a space for like-minded people like such as yourselves to just discuss and explore opportunities in design and art, which I think is important to continually be inspired, inspire others to innovate. Just for our viewers' reference who have just joined us, this year's Like Tonight theme was Blank in Progress. And in response to that, ECM's theme is Design in Progress, where we explore the development of design and art over the years. The theme this year pays homage to various innovations that were introduced through trade and cultural exchange via the Singapore River that flows just beside ECM. With that, I would like to ask our panelists then, what was the process like when conceptualizing, designing, and creating ways of seeing and the accompanying programs?
Okay, I think I can take this. Yeah. So this slide shows a series of our inspirations. Of course, with every inspiration, it's not really chronological. It's a series of different things coming together. And I think for this work, Ways of Seeing was intended to be a larger-than-life inhabitable telescope that is positioned to face and pay homage to the Singapore River. We just want to add that the orientation of this telescope is intentional, as the river, beyond being a much adored and very well depicted landscape in many of our pioneer watercolorist local paintings. It is also an important site of exchange, serving as a silent witness to the progress, constant flux, and evolution of Singapore's past, present, and future. So we thought it would be apt to present this as a response to the festival theme of In Progress. So we also drew reference to John Burge's series titled Ways of Seeing, as we understand one's perception of things to always be re-questioned, challenged, and in progress. So in the design of the work, we deliberately created it as thin lines constructed of frames, thus allowing visitors to weave in and out and around the structure. And this was also designed having the film that Finn and Faye produced in mind. So the use of the telescope motif that we put on also takes on an additional layer of reading as well. The metaphorical act of viewing, observing, and savoring of experiences from afar. We intend for the form to be distinct yet abstract. So you could see it as a boo-boo trap, a telescope, or a vortex, and that is really the intention of the work, to question our original ways of seeing.
Thanks, Fiona. I think it's amazing
Thank
how we always go back to history and always like remind ourselves where we came from, our origins, and how it actually inspires us even until today. So, with that, you mentioned a little bit more of the technicalities of like the creation of the installation itself. Maybe you could bring us through the building process.
Okay, sure. Can we have the next slide? So these were a few of the concept sketches we had. Next again. And also previous. Yeah, and also this is also an earlier mock-up done of the segment of the telescope. So I think before it goes to site and before the actual fabrication, it was quite important because of the double curvature of these circles to make sure that we get the framing correct. Yeah, so I guess the interesting bit for us also is how we can construct something that is in three segments, 9 meters in total by 3 meters on a grass lawn within a short period of time. Next, please. So the intent was to also uh, reduce an intervention on the grass itself. So actually below the chrome stones on site, there is a plate, which you can see here, that is deliberately designed to be lifted off the ground so that any cabling works can be easily concealed. It also forms the footing of the work and allows for easy off-site fabrication. So what happens is that with this plate that is suspended, we are able to weld the rebars in through pre-arranged punctuations in the plate itself, so that all these works could be done neatly off-site and then only on-site in a day. The fabrication process, we want to thank AE Models for. They spent only about 10 days in their factories to get all these things fabricated and then reconstructed on-site. Yeah, the next slide. So I think in terms of material culture, we were also interested in testing what color this work should be, and eventually on the top and the right side, we settled for a chrome finish, which helps to dematerialize the work, especially when viewed at night. So these are some photos of the in progress of the ways of seeing. Yeah.
Okay, I understand also because it's an installation that is meant for light to night. So it's a day to night program or a day to night installation outdoors. And I'm sure things like lighting as well comes into play. Would Finbar like to add on to this?
Yes, so with the idea of kind of this transition between the daytime and the nighttime was certainly very important. So as Fiona said, this kind of chrome finish certainly makes the structure come alive at night, whereas in the day it kind of blends into its surroundings. If we could go to the next slide, you'll see the structure being constructed on site. So I think we definitely played close attention to the surroundings, which is obviously the Singapore River and the district around us. So as it was built, we kind of carefully positioned these three segments to face out towards the river. Next, please. So you can see that the structure itself is a very lightweight steel structure, which has a certain porosity to it. And I think in this conceptualization, it very much ties back to the overall topic of in progress, because this telescope is very much kind of an ephemeral / skeletal piece, which really kind of comes alive at night when the light comes on. So depending on which angles you view it at, you see it as either this kind of wireframe or more porous structure. Next slide, please. So the film, which we also conceptualized together with the artwork, came kind of hand in hand. So together we storyboarded this 3-minute film called Telescopic Dreams. And this is really interesting from my point of view, because traditionally I work a lot with kind of photography and film, but very much in the architectural sense of kind of documenting spaces. But here we had the opportunity to very much choreograph a performance. The idea for the film is that we embody through the lens of the camera the various ways of seeing in almost a dreamlike state. So the camera moves through the telescope as it's inhabited at various distances. So from across the river, we see kind of Faye interacting with the surroundings at a very small scale. But then we kind of zoom in to very near scales. And it's kind of playing with this perception of how do we see, how might we inhabit this telescope? Because we are obviously playing with scale here, and we have an extremely large telescope over 9 meters in length, and we can actually move through the structure from the sides. So as it's segmented, you get different experiences depending on where you stand. And then perhaps I'll pass over to Faye to talk a little bit more about kind of how the choreography came about.
Thanks, Finn. I was gonna say that I really enjoy watching all your gestures and your movement as you're describing how you were filming and what you're seeing, and how you're experiencing it from that side of the camera. So from the other side of the camera, or the other side of the telescope, I think that this process of conceptualizing with Finbar was a really different one for me. Exciting and different. I think I'm quite used to in real time, comparing the footage and seeing the footage and all that. So in this process, was really trusting, I think, the camera, trusting Finbar, trusting the telescope, like the installation, to kind of in the end, hold it all together and make sense of it. So for me, what I was working on choreographically was similar in a sense to Finbar, working with distance, the depth, but not just spatially, I think also with awareness. So like a somatic awareness within the body. So going back to, I think previously Fiona was mentioning the telescopic awareness, one of our inspirations. So that is an idea coming from Nancy Stark Smith, this contact improvisation teacher and dancer. Sadly, she passed just last year in the midst of the pandemic. But she brought this idea of telescopic awareness in terms of how we sense and experience outside of ourselves, and the scale of that. How far can our awareness go outside of this room that I'm in, outside of the building, outside of this neighborhood, but then how inner can it go as well? So at the same time, I could be telescoping my awareness from the far reaches in and in and in to my blood vessels, for example. So as I was improvising on set and across the river, these were some of the movements that was happening for me. I think the lens, the lens of my awareness. We can take the next slide. So that I was across the river for some parts of it. Really hope that the viewers listening right now could go watch it at some point. And I think one more thing was the linearity of the installation. It, with a telescope, we're quite used to seeing through it in one direction, whereas ways of seeing installation really opens up, as they said, with the porosity. So I was really playing with the installation as a body as well. Like, how porous can this body be, and how can my body play with it too? Yeah, in short.
Thanks so much, Faye, for the sharing. I think it's really interesting what you said about how we should not view just outside but also inner. And I think it's interesting also how this installation itself has been dissected over 3 different sections, where you have different sizes of the telescope parts being dissected, essentially, so that people can actually go through in between to actually take different shots. And I've seen also and observed last weekend when we had our opening, where we had visitors who take from one end, where it's the smaller end, actually go to the other side to actually take from another angle. So I think it's nice how people have like their own, interpretation of how to interact with this installation and how they intend to view the artwork, or like the other side of this installation. So it's really nice. Thanks everyone for the insights on the creation process. And as they say, necessity is the mother of innovation. And ACM is really grateful that we are able to actually work with such a creative team of like artists who really think this through about making sense of like where we are, ACM just beside the Singapore River, and linking that to our history as well as to our collection. Now, it is interesting to know that we have the green suit that Faye wore, as well as the film direction that Finn took for the short film. So, for our dear audience, if you have not watched the short film yet, Telescopic Dreams is still available on ACM's Facebook. So, if you are on Facebook, do take a look later. It will be under our video tab, and it's titled Telescopic Dreams. So, yep. So this is just a still shot from the video itself. So if you have not watched it, do take a look. I will go through the comments section now to see if we have any comments from our viewers. Okay, right now we don't, but maybe I'll ask more questions to our panel then. As you know, we are going through a pandemic, but we shall not talk so much about this. What we want to know is like, what are some of your views on the increased digitalization of art in light of COVID-19? Maybe Fiona, you want to expand on this?
Yeah, I think beyond, of course, with the increase in digitalization, it's great for the art scene. But I think I would like to also emphasize the importance of physicality. So physicality is an important necessity in both art and architecture, and I think that it's great that we get to do some physical artwork even in the midst of these times that we're in. Yeah.
And then how does like digital actually enhance the artwork that you have on site? Finbar, maybe you can share a little bit more?
Yeah, I think obviously digital is opening many possibilities now to share the work beyond the physical space. So be it kind of even internationally, this is going to experience the work in different ways. And in other works, I've been looking at kind of augmented reality and virtual reality. And I think these are really interesting coming technologies which can be used in conjunction with physical works to kind of explore new ways of seeing. So I definitely agree with Fiona that physicality is certainly very important. And these kind of digital tools allow us to kind of bring out certain aspects of the work in new ways to perhaps kind of imagine different possibilities in how we see things, and also kind of share them with a broader audience in new ways.
Would Randy or Faye would like to add on to that?
Sure. I definitely, agree with Fiona and Femba as well. I think I just touch on with digitalization. I can't even say the word, too long. I think at some point when it felt like it was the only option, I think that's when, depending on the artists or the creators or the makers, having your options be a bit more limited can be quite a struggle sometimes, with the steep learning curve and such. I think so far, I feel like with the months that have passed, a lot of creatives and artists, and I mean, just about everyone probably have had the time to kind of sink into it, to also moderate how we feel about it, moderate our interaction with it, and figure out how to be well, amidst all of this and the using all these digital mediums. So I feel like we're probably at a better place now with more gains, perhaps. And I think the incredible thing is really the access, that a lot more people can have access in certain ways. I think also, for example, caregiving artists who maybe have been able to do more work and interact more, though they have dependents and such to take care of. So I think the access has been quite a win. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to point out the whole idea of the work being in the public in this pandemic itself has been a kind of contestation because in this pandemic, right? I mean, the whole act of even going out to enjoy an artwork. And in this case, this is a scale where one could actually look from afar, in that sense. So as much as we talk about the digital part of it, right, the premise of an artwork that's put to the public green and in this space, facing the important junction of where the Singapore River as well as the Oculus, by Bei Yao Guan, I think it kind of create a conversation as well. The interaction here is you have people, we kind of witness it that people go near, but they also have stand far, and they at the end of touching, they will also clean their hands, of course, with a mask. So in some ways, it's also that whole ritual of going near to the artwork itself, and perhaps that is also pretty much for me sums up this moment where this artwork is being commissioned. It is memorable. It is really a kind of dream state in some way because it's real, but as a moment in time you can say how can this artwork be shown and be enjoyed by the public in this time of pandemic. And we are hopeful, we are positive. Yeah.
I agree. I think as a programmer, we ourselves actually obviously prefer having on-site programs. The digital will never replace the physical on-site activities that we have, but it certainly had certainly enhanced our physical programs. It had allowed us to actually reconnect and stay connected with our loved ones and of course our audiences and our visitors. So it's a two side of the coins that we are hearing. So I think it's been a trying year, but we are hopeful, like Randy said, and I guess this installation itself reminds us of that. You can either have a narrow view, which is on one end of the telescope, or you can actually have a wider view of things like the other end of the telescope. So with that, sorry. Did somebody else?
Hi, Sana. Yes. I just wanted to jump in to say that I'm also really super grateful that, as we're talking about the physicality and the liveness, that we were also able to run a workshop, like a sort of fringe workshop for children and families alongside the installation. So the opportunity for just a small group of children and their caregivers to come together to experience this installation in a different way, to get messy with their hands, to work with materials. So we had this workshop called Do You See What I See in ACM, and the children and family members were making little craft telescopes out of reuse and found materials, and they did some movement alongside with it, seeing in different ways, maybe seeing even their family members in different light and such. So yeah, I'm really grateful that we're able to have that kind of face-to-face interaction, even though everyone kept far. Yeah, I heard from Randy. Randy was there. Yeah, but
this work I stand very far lah. Yeah. Credit goes to you guys. Yeah, well done. Yeah.
I agree. So for those who might not know, we actually did conduct a workshop, like Faith said, last Saturday. It's a parent and child workshop called Do You See What I See? And essentially we learned how to basically see or relook at the objects that we can usually find around our homes. So it was an interesting workshop. There was a craft and movement workshop. So parent and child bonded through the creation of art as well as through movement. They learn how to see differently using even their elbows, or like what happen if they have eyes on the back. So even me as like an outsider, when we were like conducting or just facilitating the workshop, it was very interesting to see like what kind of like different perceptives or like perceptions of like how we can see different things, or how different we see different things. So there was a really interesting workshop which on ACM Green on site. So if you have not seen any of it, do take a look at it soon. We will be ending everything with the festival by this Sunday, 31st January. So do bring your whole family down, take a look, take a photo. It's very Instagrammable, as you can see. Take a photo before it's gone. Just like how a lot of digital things are like that now. So with that, I thank everyone for sharing, for really just sharing about your experience, your insights of going through the whole process. And before we end this session, I just want to remind everybody that the museum will be opening late until 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, which is the 29th and 30th of January. We do have a special discount of only $6 admission into Face Beauty Love Hope from 7 to 9 p.m. only on Fridays and Saturday this week. So do come down, take a look at it, at our beautiful collection of innovative masterpieces from Asia, created for Asia and the world. So do come down. And then lastly, we appreciate too if our dear viewers could give us feedback on today's session. You can do so via the link or QR code shown on the screen. So with that, I wish everybody a lovely week ahead. Stay safe and a very good evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.